For generations, the diamond engagement ring has stood as an undeniable symbol of eternal love and commitment. Its brilliance promises forever, cementing proposals across cultures and continents, often considered an essential rite of passage. But what if this deeply ingrained tradition, this emblem of devotion, was not an organic evolution of human sentiment, but rather the deliberate creation of a powerful corporation? This investigation uncovers how a single entity, De Beers, engineered not only a near-total monopoly over the world's most coveted gemstone but also meticulously crafted the very notion of its irreplaceable value through sophisticated marketing. Our story begins in the late 19th century, with the discovery of vast diamond deposits in South Africa. Prior to this, diamonds were genuinely rare, held primarily by royalty and the extreme elite. This sudden, unprecedented abundance, however, threatened to devalue the gem entirely. According to historical accounts, early diamond fields were a chaotic free-for-all, with individual diggers flooding the market. This surge in supply, paradoxically, was the very challenge that would spark the consolidation of an entire industry, laying the groundwork for unprecedented market control and ultimately, a cartel. Amidst this chaotic boom emerged Cecil Rhodes, a British entrepreneur with a grand vision. Recognizing that scattered ownership led to unstable prices, Rhodes embarked on a relentless campaign to acquire the disparate diamond claims. Through a combination of shrewd business deals, aggressive takeovers, and financial maneuvering, he gradually consolidated control. By 1888, his efforts culminated in the establishment of De Beers Consolidated Mines Limited, a company that would soon wield immense power over the global diamond trade. This was not merely about mining, it was about achieving and maintaining market dominance. De Beers' genius, or perhaps its ruthlessness, lay in its understanding of scarcity. As documented by economic historians, the company didn't just mine diamonds, it managed the supply to the global market. Its strategy was simple: buy up every new diamond discovery, whether in South Africa, Russia, or Canada, and then release only a carefully controlled quantity to the market. This artificial scarcity, regardless of actual availability, ensured prices remained consistently high. They called it the syndicate, an intricate web of control designed to dictate the value of a geological anomaly. By the early 20th century, De Beers had achieved an almost unfathomable level of control. Historical reports indicate that they controlled upwards of 90% of the world's rough diamond supply. This meant that if a new mine opened, De Beers would likely purchase its output, ensuring no sudden influx could devalue their existing stock. Critics frequently describe this as a classic example of a cartel operation, where a single entity manipulates supply to maintain inflated prices, rather than allowing market forces of supply and demand to dictate true value. The illusion of rarity was their most valuable asset. The true dilemma for De Beers was not mining diamonds, but rather convincing the public that these abundant carbon crystals held inherent value. Without this perception, their entire monopoly was built on sand. Diamonds, after all, have minimal industrial application compared to other resources, and their true rarity, post-South African discoveries, was debatable. The question became, how do you transform a geological curiosity into a universally desired, high-value commodity? The answer lay not in geology, but in psychology, a grand experiment in manufactured desire. Enter the American market in the 1930s. The Great Depression had severely impacted diamond sales, and societal norms were shifting. De Beers needed a new strategy. According to numerous historical analyses, they hired the advertising agency NWR in 1938, tasking them with creating a psychological association between diamonds and romance. The goal was audacious: to invent a tradition where none truly existed on a mass scale, to make the diamond an indispensable part of courtship and marriage in the Western world. The advertising campaign launched by NWR was a masterstroke of psychological manipulation. In 1947, copywriter Francis Geraghty coined the immortal slogan, "A diamond is forever." This phrase wasn't just catchy, it brilliantly fused the diamond's supposed indestructibility with the ideal of everlasting love and commitment. As noted by industry historians, the campaign didn't explicitly ask people to buy diamonds. Instead, it subtly instilled the idea that a diamond was the only acceptable symbol for true, enduring affection, particularly for an engagement ring. The campaign's genius extended beyond a single slogan. De Beers and NWR employed a multifaceted approach, as detailed in various marketing studies. They influenced Hollywood films to feature diamonds prominently in romantic scenes, supplied famous actresses with diamond jewelry for public appearances, and even crafted educational materials distributed in schools, subtly linking diamonds to status, success, and marital bliss. This wasn't merely advertising, it was a societal conditioning project, deeply embedding the diamond into the cultural fabric of marriage rituals and expectations. Beyond desirability, De Beers also influenced how much people were expected to spend. In an astonishing feat of market manipulation, their campaigns began to subtly suggest appropriate spending levels. Early advertisements hinted at spending 2 months' salary on an engagement ring. This wasn't a natural market price point, it was an arbitrary benchmark established by the cartel itself, designed to maximize profits. This perceived social expectation pressured consumers, transforming a personal financial decision into a measure of commitment and love, a test the diamond alone could pass. For decades, this strategy proved incredibly effective. By the 1980s, De Beers' control over the global diamond supply remained formidable, still reportedly managing 80 to 85% of rough diamonds. The price of diamonds, insulated from true market forces, continued its upward trajectory. The engagement ring had become a non-negotiable cultural norm in many Western societies, with the diamond at its heart. What began with Cecil Rhodes' consolidation had evolved into a sophisticated, multi-pronged system of market and psychological manipulation, creating an enduring myth for profit. However, De Beers' legacy is not without its darker side. The pursuit of diamonds and the maintenance of their monopoly often came at a significant human cost. The term blood diamonds or conflict diamonds emerged, highlighting how some diamonds were mined in war zones and sold to finance insurgencies and civil wars, particularly in Africa. While De Beers publicly disavowed such practices, the sheer scale of the diamond trade, under cartel control for so long, faced intense scrutiny over its ethical implications and the conditions in which many of these precious stones were extracted. By the late 20th and early 21st centuries, De Beers' iron grip began to loosen. New diamond discoveries, particularly in Australia and Canada, proved harder to control. Furthermore, global antitrust regulations intensified, particularly in the United States, challenging De Beers' monopolistic practices. In 2000, facing a U.S. indictment for price fixing, De Beers eventually settled, agreeing to pay a fine and change its business practices. The era of near-total cartel control, while long and pervasive, was finally showing significant cracks. The landscape of the diamond industry has indeed shifted significantly. De Beers transitioned from being the sole market controller to a more traditional mining company, competing alongside others. New players emerged, and the rise of online sales and direct-to-consumer models further democratized access. This era also saw the emergence of synthetic or lab-grown diamonds, which are chemically and physically identical to mined diamonds but can be produced at a fraction of the cost, presenting a profound challenge to the traditional valuation of natural stones. The advent of lab-grown diamonds represents perhaps the most significant threat to the manufactured scarcity model. These diamonds are not imitations, they are real diamonds, created in controlled environments. As technology advances, their cost continues to decrease, making them increasingly accessible. This poses a fundamental question: if a diamond's value was predicated on its rarity and tradition, what happens when it becomes readily available and indistinguishable from its mined counterpart? The very foundation of De Beers' century-long manipulation is now being tested by scientific innovation. Despite these shifts, the legacy of De Beers' manipulation endures. The "A Diamond is Forever" slogan remains one of the most successful advertising campaigns in history, deeply ingrained in global consciousness. The expectation of a diamond engagement ring persists for millions. The cartel may no longer wield the same monopolistic power, but its influence on our perception of diamonds, their perceived value, and their role in our most intimate rituals continues to shape consumer behavior and cultural expectations, a testament to the power of sustained psychological conditioning. Today, as consumers become more aware of the diamond industry's complex history, questions of true value and ethical sourcing are paramount. Is the worth of a diamond truly inherent, or is it a carefully constructed narrative? For many, the emotional significance of a diamond remains undeniable, a personal choice deeply tied to cultural norms. But an investigative look at De Beers reveals that this emotional connection was not accidental. It was a century-long, meticulously executed strategy to elevate a common mineral into a symbol of unparalleled wealth and unwavering love, all while controlling its supply and price. In conclusion, the story of De Beers and the diamond is a compelling narrative of corporate ambition, financial monopoly, and profound psychological manipulation. From consolidating chaotic South African mines to engineering a global marketing phenomenon, De Beers didn't just sell diamonds, it sold an idea that love, commitment, and status could be encapsulated in a glittering piece of carbon. This wasn't merely business, it was the manufacturing of human desire, forever changing how we perceive one of the world's most enduring symbols. The sparkle is real, but the scarcity and the tradition behind it were, by design, largely manufactured.